Maryland versus Virginia. I've been looking forward to this video. So maybe you're moving to the area, maybe you're gonna move to DC for a job and you're deciding between the two states, or one Commonwealth, one state, as to what's gonna be the best fit for you. We're gonna cover different areas today for you to help you make that decision. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is James Reid. I'm a luxury real estate agent with TTR Sotheby's International Realty, serving DC, Northern Virginia, as well as suburbs of Maryland. I have lived in all three jurisdictions as well as owned in all three. I have a unique perspective on this. I'm gonna give it to you as much as I can in an unbiased perspective, so you can just get the information for yourself and make the best decision for you. If you have any questions for me during or after this video, just put them in the comment sections below. My contact information is there as well in the description if you want to reach out to me directly. All right, politics. Maryland is a very blue state at the state and local level. It just got a new governor who is a Democrat. Virginia is a Republican leaning at the state level. They have a Republican governor, but at the local level in Northern Virginia, it is very blue. There's no question about that. So take that for what you will, if it matters to you, if it doesn't. But just know that pretty much in all the local areas around DC and in DC, it is very blue. All right, education. Now this is a tricky area. As a real estate agent, we're not permitted to tell you what we think is the best or the worst or anything like that. We can only provide you with third-party information. So the information here is based off of third-party sources. Now, what is universally ranked as the #1 high school in the country is Thomas Jefferson in Alexandria. You'll find that on US News, great schools, a bunch of other places. But outside of that, Northern Virginia as well as Montgomery County and Maryland consistently rank top in the nation for their schools. And that is a big draw of why people move to those areas. You will find those schools listed pretty consistently in those rankings. Now, in terms of universities, Virginia has 58 public universities, as well as Maryland having 34, but Virginia is a bigger state, so take that for what you will. UVA does have a 2/3 requirement for Virginia residents, which you do not get in Maryland. University of Maryland does not have a requirement for in-state students to attend, so there is an edge for Virginia there, but I will give this a draw between both states. All right, buying real estate in Virginia versus Maryland. So Virginia is a buyer beware state, which means the seller only needs to disclose known defects to you, where in Maryland, they're gonna disclose pretty much everything. I've seen utility bills as part of the disclosure packages. Virginia also is much more dense where it does its development. It allows shopping centers much closer, where Maryland will separate the two more often than not, where you'll have shopping centers here and you'll have residential here. Maryland will prioritize green space, where Virginia will not as much. I mean, they're not going to destroy every tree you see, but it's not as high a priority. You'll have other areas like Arlington County recently passed a new ordinance where it's actually getting rid of single family zoning in some parts to allow multifamily properties being developed where there was only single family. That's brand new though, so they're limiting the number of projects for the first year or so, just to kind of get that moving. But for tear downs, so tearing down an old property, building new properties, Virginia is much quicker to make those approvals. Maryland is a much longer process. So you're gonna see a lot more tear downs and new developments in Virginia than you will in Maryland. You'll see it in Maryland, but the pace isn't as quick. Business and economy. This one, Virginia's gonna win hands out. Virginia has 21 Fortune 500 companies, where Maryland has 3. As of right now, Virginia is getting new headquarters coming to them from Amazon, HQ2, Raytheon, Boeing. There's a lot of new development in National Landing, a lot of housing and construction related to that, and even in the commercial space. Virginia, its job growth, especially in Northern Virginia, is kind of exploding right now, where Maryland is not. So I would definitely give the edge to Virginia, Northern Virginia specifically, in terms of business and economy. All right, parks and recs. Both Virginia and Maryland have beaches, but not a ton of coastline. Virginia, you've got the Shenandoah Valley. You've also got wine country, which is really nice. But on the Maryland side of things, you've got St. Michael's, you've got Assateague, you've got Annapolis. What's nice about living here is you don't have to choose one versus the other, as they're both very close. You can enjoy either state. So I'm gonna give this one a draw between the both, because you don't have to make a distinction when you live here as to which one you would go to enjoy. Traffic. All right, this is always an interesting one. So traffic, I'll preface this by saying you need to factor in if you're going to commute, where you're going to live and where you're going to work. That's going to matter more than anything else. Now, say if you're commuting into DC specifically, Northern Virginia, you've got toll lanes, you've got hot lanes, Maryland does not have that. You're pretty much going to be on the Beltway, or you're going to take Connecticut Avenue, Wisconsin, or Georgia into town. You've got a bunch of different avenues there. I will say on the evenings, I see more traffic on the Virginia side. It could be because there's more workforce in Tysons and Alexandria than there are in parts of, say, Potomac or Silver Spring on the Maryland side. But Maryland, I would give them an edge on the traffic front. Traffic's not great in either one, don't get me wrong. You're gonna have to plan out your day, you're gonna have to figure things out. Google's gonna lie to you sometimes, it'll tell you it takes 10 minutes when it takes an hour. But I would give Maryland the edge on traffic just because there's more people, more work on the Virginia side. Taxes, this is always a sticky subject. So DC, which we're not talking about, but we're around, DC has the highest amount of taxes, then Maryland, then Virginia. In terms of states that tax the most versus the least, Maryland was ranked 11th, Virginia was ranked 24th, but they're not too far behind. The tax burden in Maryland was 9.47 and Virginia was 8.18. A little bit of a difference though in Maryland is Maryland also, you will get taxed on the local level. So Montgomery, PG, Howard County, the counties closest to DC, will tax you an additional 3.2%, where you're not going to get that in Virginia. But Virginia, I will tell you, it's a sticky subject with me, is they have Virginia personal property tax on vehicles, and you will pay in Fairfax County, so McLean, or I'll double check Alexandria as well, but you'll pay $4.57 per every $100. So on a $10,000 vehicle, every year you're gonna pay right around 450 bucks every year on the car. I always found that personally annoying. I don't know too many people in Virginia that don't, but even with that in there, Virginia has a lower tax base than Maryland. There's just some annoyances like that that I personally find. Maybe it won't matter for you. All right, retirement and estates. Virginia ranked number 21 and Maryland ranked number 44 for best states to retire. So Maryland is always near the bottom of the list, has a very high cost. They tax retirement in Maryland. Now, Maryland has an estate and an inheritance tax, where Virginia has neither. Maryland is one of the few states that taxes both, and Virginia is one of the few states that does not tax. So I would get with your accountant for that one, your CPA, figure out what is the best situation for you if you're choosing Maryland and you're going to be in the retirement phase of your life. Maybe you need to set up a trust, maybe you have to do something else just to protect yourself in that area. But I would certainly talk with an accountant either way as to what makes the most sense for you financially. All right, well, I hope that list was helpful for you doing your research of Maryland versus Virginia, what's gonna make the most sense for you. As I mentioned before, I am licensed in Maryland and Virginia as well as DC. I've lived and owned in all three jurisdictions. I do deals in all three areas every year. So feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions pertaining to your specific situation. You can get my contact information in the description box below. And as always, like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications so that you can be the first to know about the current market in DC. And until next time, I hope to see you around town.